All right, everybody, welcome back. Radio plate, radio support tower, battery drain, little crash pads, got all sorts of stuff yet left to do. Welcome back to the garage. All right. So one of the things that I was always going to get to and just never did is the drain hose. You can see that little bump that comes off of there. That connects up to that drain hose and it runs inside the interior and down into the footwell. And it should go through a hole right in the floorboard and goes right into the environment. So this is the original hose here that Dorothy had. You can see it's kind of crooked just from being old, so I'll try to follow that. One thing that was destroyed, however, was the grommet. You can see where the indentation is, so it sticks through pretty well. Got a new grommet here. Now this grommet is going to fit pretty tight onto this. Again, you can see that it's indentated, if that's even a word. So I'm going to go ahead and get this over top of this, and then I'm going to measure the inside diameter of the grommet itself where it's going to slip through the floorboard, and then drill a hole into the floorboard to allow that to fit through. So I'm going to fit this first because I'm sure I'm going to stretch this rubber out, and I wouldn't want to drill the hole for the grommet, make it so tight that I can't get it in and then have to, or make it so big or something like that. So I'd rather be safe. So I'll put this together, measure it up, and get some holes drilled. So I'll put a little bit of Sil Glide on there just to make this slide up easier. It appears to be about a 1-inch diameter. On the inside of this, I'm going to double check with the diameter of the hose. You can also see, where is it, right here, if you can see that band there, that's the strap that's in there. I'll show you that. And then these bands in here, that's where the pipe clamp went. So I have the original pipe clamps. So I'll go ahead, and now that that's it's going to kind of go in like this with the footwell of the car being over here, and it curves in. You can kind of see, and it is it doesn't get snuck behind the carpet, so kind of interesting. I'm going to go ahead and get this thing hooked up and verify the diameter and start drilling some holes. All right, go ahead and pull this carpet out. Some of you that may have been paying attention may have noticed in the last video that there appeared to be holes where the snaps were up here, and sure enough, I poked a hole through that. Didn't need to do that. So just in the top, so you're not going to really be able to see it, but you know, your dork moment definitely happened there. So now I've got the hose here, so I'm going to go ahead and fit that up and kind of eyeball it in here and see how the thing's going to line up. Now there is the bracket that it's going to get pinched between. It's just the normal wire brackets. So I'm going to go ahead and get that covered in shrink tubing real quick. Forgot about that, and get that heated up and shrunk up, and then I'll go ahead and measure this thing out. So of course I am concerned with drilling this hole here and hitting something under there or whatever. But essentially this, even though the frame tap for the outrigger is here, the outrigger's at a steeper angle. So it tends to fall more towards the front of the car. If I go underneath and look, that you can, I don't know how well you can see, but there's a divot here, a strengthening divot, pretty much clear from the frame until way out over here. So I'm going to start the hole with a little marker thing to give myself a little divot for the drill bit. I'll drill a little pilot hole, and then I'll use a step drill. I'm going to go to probably about, let's see, 13/16 or so first, and see if that works, and then give myself enough room here to make sure I'm going to be having room for the whole pilot, and then go ahead and continue the hole. Well, unfortunately, it doesn't appear that I have enough room inside of here to get this in. I do have an air drill. I'll try the air drill real quick and see if that'll fit. All right, worked pretty well. About an inch or so of the piping sticking out through the bottom. It's not quite where it was originally, but it's pretty close. So I'm going to call it good. Now I've got to get a hole in the carpet and sneak the carpet behind that and kind of get that fit up. But otherwise, I don't know. Hasn't been happening for a shop for me too much lately, so nice to see. A couple things I did here. Cut a relief in the upper corner here that corresponds to where the gas pedal linkage connects to the firewall crossed. I put a slit, you can see it better here, put a slit right there. That's where the cable bracket comes across. And then I used a step drill to drill a hole in that guy too. So obviously a lot more flexibility in this than in metal. So that went in well. So now I'll snap this back in and hopefully everything will come together like a champ. And I'll tell you what, that came up together a lot better than I thought it would. So there, that's done. Now you can see up in there, this little guy right there, a little bit of a gap there in the carpet. And that's because this is just not sitting completely flush, but it does go on top. So I'm not gonna really worry about that. So next up, we'll get the radio support bracket in, the tower, the dash support, about 50,000 different names I've heard for it. So we'll get that guy in and another step down. So what I'm going to do before I put the radio support tower in is I'm going to put the radio blanking plate on. It just fits like that. It's, the early cars, like 15,000 or so, used screws and nuts and washers and stuff, and the later cars used captive nuts, the little spire clips that are all over the place. Now I picked these up new. Unfortunately, they're a little skinny, and the gap here is between a 1/16 and an 1/8 of an inch. That's how thick the aluminum is there. So I'm going to have to kind of pry these open a little bit. I don't want to use non-captive ones that won't slide over, because if I ever do decide to take this radio plate off, then I'll lose those things probably. And even though there's a little ledge back here, you never know, and then it'll fall, and I don't want to have to go digging around for it. So if this doesn't work, then I'll investigate that route. But I also got 2 stainless steel just Phillips screws, sheet metal screws. Try to keep the chrome look a little bit. Couldn't find any chrome ones. Yeah, well, unfortunately they weren't big enough. So I'll just use the little spire clips, these little guys, and just be careful if I ever have to take it apart, I guess. All right, so there you go. Go ahead and get this in. One thing I forgot is you have the knee pads here that go along the side. Now you have to get these on before you put this in, because you just can't access the back of these screw holes. There are little nuts and bolts built in here. You can't get to them when it's on, especially the 2 down lower. So I've got 4 of them here. They're all solid, not cracked, but they're in various stages of being old and stiff and everything. So I'm going to take the best of the litter here, put those things on, and then go ahead and get ready to put this in. Well, there's that. A little bit of fitment problem still in here where the dash is kind of curling underneath, but it's in there and it's tight, so I'm going to call it good. I'm sure there's stuff I have forgotten. Put the ball on here. It doesn't interfere with shifting, so I guess that's good. Well, unfortunately, I just lost about an hour to these trim pieces. Just the vinyl is not playing with sticking to this stuff that well. It is a little cool in here. I didn't turn the heat on. I'm not sure if that's got something to do with it, but I'm going to skip that. I just threw a wheel in the sandblaster. I'm going to get the tires off the car tonight, get them in the trunk of my car and take them to a tire place. But the wheel does fit in here. I'm not going to go to town on this thing, but I just want to see how it looks like it's going to go for sandblasting these, and if this is the method that I want to use. And obviously it's going to take a while for each wheel. It'll give me a feel for how ugly this can get. Well, it sure does make it pretty. So I did the front here pretty much all except for the nooks and crannies, just because I didn't pay that much attention. But I think, based on the amount of time that it takes, and the fact that the compressor runs essentially nonstop, I think I might be better off starting with something else, wire brush or something, and then maybe following it up with the sandblaster just to get it ready for paint, because I can nail it with you know, the grit and not have to prep it. So that's a little proof of concept here. So we'll see. So now I'm going to take the tires off and see if I can fit them all in my trunk. Well, the car's up on jack stands. Always makes me nervous. See, these little jack stands just look so far inside. I'm just afraid the thing's going to tip, but I'm sure it'll be fine. So again, the wheels are in the trunk of my other car. Take them, get the tires off, bring them back, get them cleaned up, and hopefully be able to get them painted. I'm going to give this another try. What I've got here is 3M yellow adhesive, and probably pretty familiar to most of you. I'm going to give that a shot. It's more like a contact cement that's made for weather stripping and rubber and vinyl and stuff like that. So hopefully I'll get a good bond. Essentially apply it to both the surfaces again, just like you do for the normal stuff. Let it get tacky and then stick it on there. So we'll give it a try and see if I can get lucky. I clean this up and get all that old adhesive off of it, except for the pad. That was kind of hard to get any adhesive off, but all the metal stuff has gotten cleaned up. So hopefully that'll help. Got that one done. It sticks much better. There is some mistakes, like here I've got the padding started to break apart here, so it looks a little uneven. There's a little bubble in there, bubbles in here, just where it tries to come down, but I'm not gonna worry about that at all. So otherwise, it's nice, it's tight. A little bit of bubbling in here, but again, it's just because it had to make that curve, and you can see I got a pretty heavy crimp there and a pretty heavy crimp there, but I gotta, again, make the curve. Notice I used the heat gun there. I think that helped out quite a bit. So this one's good. I'll get the other one going, try to use the same method there, maybe do some lessons learned in these areas here, and move on from there. Kind of went down the rabbit hole there for a little while and just kind of organized my little boxes here, especially as I get closer and closer to the end. Little things like these, you know, these captive nuts and stuff like that, especially the smaller hardware for the interior. It's just kind of nice to have all that stuff together. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and see if I can get the bars and the crash pads. I also, grab the light here, also found the little belt piece there that goes in that screw there, and that's what holds up the soft top rail when you take it out and have to put it in. So it's got a little captive piece in there that's drying, and I'll get that together. That's the little things that leather belts, you know, 55 years old or whatever, those are the little things that I kind of like. I put that little belt in here. Just gonna undo this screw. Grab the belt and the clip. When the soft top comes in, the bar comes around and goes in, sits in there, and then this belt just goes ahead like so and cinches it up. So pretty cool. I think you can still get the belts actually from Rimmer Brothers. So there's that. Got the tires off the wheels yesterday, so now I have those ready for cleaning up. 6 of them you see stacked there. I'll end up using 5. And again, I talked about the mix and match of the Mark 1 and Mark 2. Unfortunately, the weather was pretty windy, pretty chilly today. I was hoping to kind of get outside this weekend and paint, since I'm not really in a condition to paint in here anymore, especially with the car. But if I have to set something up, a little tent back here, I will. So because of that, I'm leaving that. There's a couple other things. The seat rails, I'm going to take apart the passenger seat and paint that. So there's things that I need to get painted that, again, I'm not kind of in a position for. I was hoping it to be warm, just paint these wheels outside, but so be it. Now I'm going to hit up this crash pad on the passenger side here and see if I can't figure out how to put this in. Relatively straightforward installation, I would think. Pad just goes in like that. Here you can see these screws back here. What those are for the glove box area. I don't have the glove boxes yet. I'm going to order those here soon. But there's a clip over here, kind of just barely off camera, and a clip right here that these holes here and here go to, and then these 2 holes here that I haven't poked through yet, I believe line up there with those. So that's how that's going to kind of work. Problem is that it's a little big right now. It's not fitting real well for me, and I'm also not sure if it goes like this or like this. I meant to look at that and forgot, so I got to look at pictures. But I'm going to go ahead and just get it lined up. It doesn't really matter which way it fits right now for the purposes of getting it installed. So see if I can get this jammed in here. And so I'm having carpet interference over here, so I'm going to go ahead and have to cut that carpet out. A little tricky to get a good camera angle in here, but I was able to cut this carpet away, so now that the crash pad goes fully flush and then it fits over on the other side here. So now all I'm going to do is pop holes for screws. All right, got the holes poked in. I'm just going to use black pan head screws. Now, unfortunately, I don't have any black flat washers, so I'll have to get a couple of those to go on the top here. I'm not sure if these will show when the car comes together. And then on the bottom, I'm going to use another flat washer and a lock washer. So, and a nut, obviously. So I'll get these in real quick. Putting the passengers, or the door side in first. It seems to fit better. Well, that doesn't look half bad. So again, I got to put the glove box in. So we'll take care of that when I get them. But unfortunately, that's all the time I have for today. So I'm going to leave it at that. And we'll get the other side next time.
All right, everybody, that's all I got. Thanks so much for watching. Leave a comment below. Tell me what you think. I know it's still interior stuff, but it does take a lot of time. Hopefully you guys can understand kind of what goes into it and see at least how I'm approaching it. So it is what it is. So everybody stay healthy, stay safe. See you next time. Cheers.